Good morning. It's time to open a tavern for happy hour. Our conversation today is the Progressive Revolt, then and now. Before we get going, let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance and our prayer. And please join us in prayer. Ready? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike,
you got a prayer
sit down.
and a statement?
Yeah, let's sit down because I'm going to give some current events of things that are happening today that were written 2,000 years ago.
so you want us to sit?
Yeah.
Boy, that must have been a long distance call. How'd you find out what was going on 2,000 years ago?
All right, I'm reading from 2 Timothy
Hold on a minute.
chapter 3.
What are you reading from?
2 Timothy from chapter 3.
Why don't you, which Bible are you using, Mike?
The King James Bible.
That's the same one I have.
That's
Yeah.
God's true word. All the new ones from 1880 and on, there's 250 of them, and they changed the word of God. I'm reading chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, and then 12 and 13. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with divers lusts. Verse 12. Yea, all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. Also, verse 7. Tell me if this sounds familiar or not. Ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
That fits so well with what's going on today.
Now, just a little prayer. Lord, let everyone hear your gospel, call upon your name, and be saved by you, Lord. Please help us to give you thanks and praise for all that you do. Please help all those that are sick and make them well. Lord, we are so thankful, grateful, and love you dearly. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Yeah.
And we do need his help now.
Like I said, that is exactly what is going on with our politicians today. You know, that's really good.
2,000 years ago. Current events. Happening right now.
Yeah.
So, Jack, I have to tell you, I almost didn't make this podcast this weekend, this show. It's been an up and down couple of weeks for me. Got some mental health issues going on. But, hey, I'm working through it, just like everybody else, you know. Also, I'm feeling like we don't do enough for our members. It's all about education. We need to get back to that. But I did meet an amazing person and decided to go away for the weekend. We went on a dinner cruise in Savannah, Georgia. It was a much needed mental health weekend.
Yeah, leave it there. It's a family show.
That's right. It's a family show. What a great dinner. But I feel I'm ready to get this group going. We need to educate. Okay, if you follow us on Facebook, we haven't been educating you like we said we would. And we appreciate everyone posting everything they do. I mean, we have great followers. But our goal is to educate so you can make better decisions when it comes to voting.
We're starting to get good responses back on
On YouTube.
On YouTube, we're getting good responses. And my sister sends me a lot of some of the posts that it's good debate. You know, certain people, they don't feel 100% the way we do. They feel like there's something lacking back and forth. And, you know, it's fun. It's fun to talk about, you know, and see what people are feeling across the country, you know.
They're just as fed up as us.
There's in different ways, and they think different ways, and they feel different ways. And, you know, you debate back and forth. You never really know until later on, but, you know, if you won anybody over on your argument, and if they won you over, you know. But it's fun to do that debate. Listen,
You find out
we're
what
not the
people are
biggest
at.
thing out there, but the people that are interested in it, you know, that when my sister sends me something, it's a good time, and it's a response back and forth. We go back and forth on each other. It's a good time.
So I've had this cough for like 2.5 months.
Yeah, somebody was worried about you.
Thanks, Margaret.
Somebody else wrote it too. Oh, I forget what he said. Hey, listen, somebody's coughing incessantly. Go get checked for lung cancer.
I hope I don't have lung cancer.
But he's worried about you.
But I'm working with the VA, and we'll see where it goes, and hopefully everything will be okay.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. So I promise each and every one of you, we will do a better job. We have to stand united to win back our country. We can't let these people win. But we also need your help. We hope what we have to say wakes you up and sets a fire in you. A fire so strong that you agree with what we're saying. Again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and hit the share button. Because the only way we grow is by you, each of our followers. We need as many patriots as possible that want to help us in this endeavor. It's a pretty strong endeavor because we just found out we tried to register a party this week.
Yeah, I was going to get into that.
But go ahead.
Well, first off, we have a tough subject for people to tune into. Most people on YouTube aren't looking for the topics that we're speaking of. These are heavy topics.
Yeah, but
But
Fox
there's
News is doing 1619 Project Move in.
Listen, that's another thing too. If you don't believe what we're saying is important, we did the 1619 project, and we went through line by line. You know, we did it for 2 guys with no staff. I thought we did a pretty good job. Today, Fox News, I'm watching Brian Kilmeade is doing a special on a 1619 project. And Laura Ingraham did too.
Yeah, she did.
After us, you know, like a few weeks after we did. So, hey, do we know if they're listening? You know what? Listen, I hope they are. I mean, I hope if they are, they, you know, they ask us just so we can get to a bigger audience. But again, like Dennis said, many people want to know what we're asking your help for. And our help for what we're looking for now. You know, at first we wanted to start a little group together and get people to just
Think about the Constitution.
think about what's going on. You know, where did this government start, and why is it where it is today?
Why we should keep it the way it is.
And well, not the way it is today.
Right.
We want to go back to American history.
Right.
So, and as we did it, and we read about all of these things, and we start investigating them, and realize, wow, we are in a lot of trouble. We decided, you know, not seeing the results we wanted to, as registered Republicans were before now, we need a new party. It's called the Independent Constitutional Party. We went to the Board of Elections on Thursday. We got in touch with Columbia, which is the capital of South Carolina. And we're starting to get ourselves on the ballot for South Carolina. We feel, and this is what we need help for, we need anybody that's interested in getting this party on your state ballot. We want to get politicians that we can vet, that know if they're running for state or local, what their state constitution is, and be willing to rule by that. And if they're running for a federal representative or a federal state, you know, U.S. Senate spot, that they know the U.S. Constitution. We need to start ruling by the Constitution because we're doing a podcast today, The Rise of Liberal Nationalism, and what was the other one?
Progressive Revolt.
Progressive Revolt, all right? So this is the beginning. You want to know why these people are so good at their game. This is when it started. You know, so we need our politicians to go back to governing through the Constitution and debating the Constitution.
Yeah.
And the reason why they don't do that is because it's hard work. It's a lot of work to do your job by the rules. Everybody knows that. Think about your job when you go to work. You get this job, they give you a book, here's your rules. I mean, I had one on the police department, it was 5,000 pages long, it take a year to read through.
Yeah, policies and procedures.
So, you get any kind of job, I don't care what it is, they have rules. So, you have your rule book, and you're a new worker, you go to work, and you do your job by the rules. So,
Those policies and procedures will save your ass, though.
but here's the thing. Production needs to get done. Things need to get done. Not so much on the Washington, D.C. level, because they have an unlimited time. It's a part-time job. It's supposed to be a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
They were only supposed to meet at least once a year. Now they never leave. So
They think they're more important than all of us.
So you go to work and you have your rules and regulations that you have to do. This is how we do it. This is how you're supposed to do it. These are the rules of doing it. So as you start doing it, what do? You start cutting corners. Why do you start cutting corners? Because it's faster and easier. We do it. But you want to know something? You cutting a corner on most jobs doesn't affect your neighbor. You know, it doesn't affect 330 million people. It's not a federal law. It wasn't what the country was built on. It's just a little company rule. These people that we send in to represent us in your local and your state. Now your local is very important and your state's very important for everybody that lives there. And your federal is humongously important because it affects you and everybody in the country. These people have hundreds of millions of people depending on them to do their job the right way through the rule book, which is the United States Constitution. Right. Off of the type of government we want to be ruled by from the Declaration of Independence. Explained through the Federalist Papers on why it's done this way. Because if you understand why it's done this way, it makes it completely understandable why we do it this way. So they don't. And it's human nature. So it's our job to make sure these assholes do their job. And we've left them there for 30 years. And we're going to show you this here, The Rise of Liberal Nation. Well, I shouldn't have closed that. I'm going to need that later. Hold on a minute, folks. Okay, I got it right here. The Rise of liberal nationalism. I don't know if Dennis wants me to go on first or if he wants to go first.
Can I interrupt one
Sure,
second?
go ahead, Mike.
Jack, why don't you
Here
just
we
show
go.
them the size of that book? The Constitution.
Well, this is not, oh, the Constitution.
Yeah, just show people.
No, well, let me tell you something, folks. Here's the Constitution, but it's not the Constitution. This is the Constitution of the United States with the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, I'll tell you what's in here. It has an introduction, chronology, the Constitution of the United States of America, the amendments to the Constitution of the United States, which is what, 27 of them? Mm-hmm. 27 of them. The Declaration of Independence, the Articles of the Confederate, which is what was there before the Constitution, and then the index to the Constitution and amendments. So it starts off with page 5, the introduction. All right? And it ends, well, I won't go through the index. I will go to the end of any substance. 104. So, this, well, actually, I'll show you even in more for it. Here's the thing, too. I bet you most politicians don't even know how many articles are in the Constitution. You know, because I bet you if you ask your local representative that goes down to Washington, D.C. to represent you, and if you said, Mr. Representative, Mrs. Representative,
What's Article 13?
Yeah. Say, what's Article 13? Say, what's Article 13? They'll make something up, because you want to know why they're going to make something up?
They don't know it.
There's only 7. There's 7 articles to the entire Constitution. All right? So the Constitution goes from Article 1 is on page 37 to page 57.
20 pages.
20 pages.
Pages.
So, but it's not all the way done, because then you got the amendments, and the amendments and the Bill of Rights, the 10 Bill of Rights, are very important. These are really what keeps the government in check. These amendments that are supposed to be here.
They're not in check.
No, they're out. They have no idea. So the amendments go from page 63 to 79. 16 pages. All right? So altogether, what do we got?
36?
36 pages. 36 pages are supposed to run this country. And I guarantee you, just as Dennis said, you go ask one of your federal legislators from Congress, from either house, I don't care. Ask them, what is in Article 13 of the Constitution? And they're either going to tell you, it could be something like this or that or that. They're not going to look at you and go, what? What are you talking about? There's only 7. They're going to make up something. And they're going to look the fool. This is all they need to know. Yep. They are making such a mockery of this. They are coloring out of the lines. And
They do it well, though.
Well, listen, because I'll tell you why they do it well.
Because nobody pays attention.
Here's why they do it well, folks. Because, again, we're going to go back to this. Thank you, Mike. That was a good idea. Ask your neighbor what the 13th article is in the Constitution, or the 12th, or the 10th, or the 8th. Just don't ask them what 1 through 7 is. Hey, you know what? I bet you can ask most of your neighbors what's Article 1, and they're not going to know what's in the Constitution. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself what's in the Constitution. These people are ruling your life through 36 pages, and you don't know what they are. Your neighbor doesn't know what they are. And then if you are going to complain about the way votes are done, and by the way the Constitution is run, and the way government is ruling you, if you don't know how many pages are in the Constitution and the amendments, now look how little these pages are. See, this is the smallest book compared to this book that's written about the Constitution and government.
And we'll get into that book in a minute.
Yeah. So these are I'm sure in Dennis's book it's less than 36 pages. Look how big his book is. If you don't know what's in here,
$7.
this book cost me
$5.95.
Hold on, I only got the Canadian. I don't know why Canada would want to know how much this is. $8.
Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the founders are all their history of the founders of the.
I don't have the history of the founders, but I do have the papers of the Confederacy.
And it's on your website too, right?
Yeah,
Another
it's
book,
on our website.
The Federalist Papers. You want to educate yourself?
See this book here?
It's amazing.
So you have the Declaration of Independence, which is written on 1 page. It's a few pages today if you buy something this small. 36 pages for the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. I'm going to leave it there so you can remind yourself on how much you have to read. The process that went through to get these 36 pages through is this book. This is all from the convention.
Yep.
This is the arguments that they had for and against writing this and being ruled by it. If you don't understand these simple processes of your government that you live under, don't complain.
And you can download them for free.
For free.
On our website.
Listen, you don't have to print them out. You could sit on your phone, you could sit on your iPad, you could sit on your computer and sit and read through. We have every page of this. And this.
All 85.
Every
There's
85.
85 of them. It's not a hard read.
It's just telling you why they made this the way they made it.
A lot of the information that we're going to talk about today comes from the American Constitution.
Yeah.
Its origins and development. This is a fantastic book.
Yeah. That's what we're gonna go over today. And if Dennis doesn't mind,
Well, you know, the one thing,
okay.
you know, fedupwithpolitics.com. Check it out. That's where we're at. If you're not fed up with politics, I don't know what to tell you. You know,
One more thing. That's what we need your help for, folks. We want to make a political party that's going to understand this 36 pages, represent you, your family, friends, and neighbors the way this government was supposed to be represented.
you know,
And if you look at the numbers, the Senate's tied 50-50. You know, Congress is, 6 to 12 votes difference on either side. If we get a few,
12,
if we get a few independent constitutional party guys in there,
they'll have to come to us.
they'll have to come to us. And if it's not constitutional,
You're done. You ain't getting the pass.
see you later. See you Monday. We're not interested.
But if you forgot who we are, he's Jack. I'm Dennis. We're right there. That's why we buy on each side. Our email is uscg20211@aol.com. Reach out to us. We're more than happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
But every day we turn on the news, which I can't stand the deceit that I hear from all the news agencies. Fox, MSNBC, CNN, liberal newspapers. We hear from commentators about the progressive movement, and each outlet, whether liberal or conservatives, spin it for their audience.
Yeah.
You know, it's done to divide the nation, and it's sickening.
I tell you, the worst is seeing these Republicans going on Fox and Newsmax and AON. Dude, grow a hair on your ass. Go on CNN.
Yeah.
Tell what the 50% of the other country wants to tell the other 50% of the country.
You know, most people believe that this country has turned progressive since Obama was in office.
Not
And
true.
we have.
We did, but
We
it's
have.
not a new story.
No, it's not. You know, most people don't know the first Progressive Revolt. That movement started in 1897 and ended in 1920. Well, it didn't end yet.
Yeah, it didn't end yet.
100 years ago, they've been trying to turn this country progressive. Check this information out for yourself. Do an internet search. The Progressive Revolt.
Buy this book.
Verify what we say.
Yeah.
You know, but educate yourself with great information. The more knowledge we have, the better decisions we can make.
You know, check it out for yourself. Double check us. Unlike the mainstream TV, I don't mind if somebody says, Jack, a little screwy on that one, buddy. Maybe you should check this, this, and this. And I'll go check this, this, and this. And if I'm wrong, whoa, I was wrong. You know,
We can admit our mistakes.
Yeah, I'm new to the internet, and I'm not here to be right and for anybody to be wrong. I'm here to say,
We
listen,
need a different way.
this is what I saw in my history look on my own. You know, we're talking about certain subjects, and when I digged into this certain subject, this is what I found. This is what I found. We don't have staff. So if we say something and it's wrong, hey, listen, let us know it's wrong. But if you let us know it's wrong. Oh, and by the way, there's a few people that want us to put links underneath the YouTube.
Show us how to do it.
Yeah, we're working on that. We don't know how to do it.
Yeah, show us how to do it.
Yeah.
Email.
Email us right here, or leave a
Message on YouTube.
message on YouTube. If you email us, we can call. We can figure it out. I would love to put links under the
Where we
YouTube.
found this information at.
Yeah. That way, boom, you could go right there. I would love, and you could say, listen, you think that's a historian that you got that information from. That guy's a nut job, and here's why. 1, 2, and 3, A, B, and C. Then I could come back on the next week and say, sorry, I was wrong on that one.
Yeah. We had no mistakes. So the progressive movement actually started in 1897 and is aimed at 3 goals: social and political reform, curbing political corruption, how's that working today, caused by political machines, and limiting the influence of large corporations. How's that ending today?
Yeah.
Progressivism was a group of different ideas on how to fix problems that affected United States citizens. They wanted to promote the ideas of morality, economic reform, efficiency, and social welfare. They wanted people to be on welfare. And they've wanted that for over 100 years now.
Well, the funny thing of it is I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. But maybe I shouldn't have interrupted you so soon. I'm doing a lot of this out of this book because it was so much information that I couldn't write it down and read through it at the same time. So I highlighted a lot of stuff. But like what Dennis was saying, what these guys did was they would try and fix democracy with more democracy. In other words, they want a bigger and bigger government to take care of. We're not a democracy, we're a republic.
Yep.
If you're a true democracy, which these guys are always trying to do, eventually you turn into socialist because the minority never gets taken care of, the majority takes over, and eventually there's a leader, and it turns into a
And then I'm going
dictatorship.
to talk about how progressives rule in this country.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
steal
no,
your
that's
thunder.
good. But most people just think that it was the Democrats that were progressives.
No.
But the national political leaders at the time, in the 1890s, 1920s, were Republicans. Teddy Roosevelt,
Yeah,
Robert La Follette,
yeah,
Charles Hughes, Herbert Hoover,
yeah.
all progressives. On the Democratic side, there's William Jennings Bryan, Woodrow Wilson.
Herbert Hoover worked with the Truman after, I mean, him and FDR didn't get along at all. They were arch enemies, but when Truman became president, he kept asking him. He's the one that went over and saved Europe from starving to death.
Yeah. So on the Democratic side again, William Jennings Bryan, Woodrow Wilson, Al Smith. So it's not just the Democrats that were progressive, but
Yeah.
Republicans, just as today. And we'll get into that in a minute. But
Thanks for the
Republicans,
Sheeny.
Republicans try to hide it better. Just look at the recent bill that was passed, the $1.2 trillion, I don't know what it was, Build Back Better infrastructure, I don't know what it's called.
Build Back Worse.
Yeah. $1.2 trillion. Republicans voted for that.
13 of them, right?
13. So
Yeah.
they're just as progressive as the Democrats. Progressive, check this out. I found this, I couldn't believe it. Progressives did very little for civil rights.
Well, we did that.
Right. Or the plight of African Americans in the aftermath of Reconstruction, as the Supreme Court affirmed the constitutionality on many racist Southern laws, just as it is today.
Well, we did. If you look back before it was YouTube and we only had Spreaker. If you go on to our website and go on to Spreaker, it's just a podcast, no video. We did how the Democratic Party is racist. Now, Woodrow Wilson, in chapter 24 in his book, the great World War I hero, wanted to get the League of Nations and make the world wonderful. He was the president of Princeton. Now, look on your computer. It's very hard to find this, but look on your computer and try to find the next president that was elected to the United States from a southern state after the Civil War. A lot of times they'll say it was Woodrow Wilson. He was born in the South, but he was raised in Jersey, and he was the president of Princeton. And when he was the president of Princeton, he tried to keep African Americans out of that school. He didn't want them in. He did everything he could to keep them out of that school. A Democrat. So after him, the next president that was elected on his own, not Johnson, after Lincoln, because if you put it in, the first one that's going to come up is Johnson, Abraham Lincoln's vice president. The next one that's going to come up is Woodrow Wilson. He was born in the South but raised in the North. The next president that was elected on his own, in his own election, after the Civil War, was Lyndon Johnson from Texas. Was the first president elected after the Civil War from the South. The Democratic Party has been racist since before Lincoln was ever there. I mean, we had a whole thing on that. But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go down
check this out.
the rabbit hole.
The wealth that was generated by the new industrial economy became more concentrated in a small number of families. So the average family was left out. The one thing that the progressive movement did accomplish was the Great Depression.
Thank God for that.
That's what they, 1907.
Yep.
They contributed to the Great Depression. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's out of their mind. I had something about that because they were starting to do wealth distribution. I wish I would have had my notes a little better this week. My sister's
You
going to
can
kill
be
me.
fired.
My sister's going to kill me.
Margaret Farham.
She is going to
You
get
agree?
me bad on this one. But I can't help it. It was a lot of information. This
There's
is
a lot of information on this.
unbelievable how intense this okay, it was wealth distribution. I'll read it right out of this book. Liberal nationalists had never concealed their disgust with the constitutional status of income tax legislation. This is when they invented the income tax return against us in 1909. In the United States Constitution, there is no federal income tax. These liberals, these progressives in 1909 got it passed.
Yeah, I'll talk about that here in a second.
So the liberal nationalists never concealed their disgust with the constitutional status of income tax legislation after the two Pollock opinions of 1895. Look them up, they're there. They believed that a federal income tax law was an indispensable means of reaching the intangible forms of property and wealth created by industrial revolution and redressing what progressive regards as gross inequities in a distribution of national income. That's what your federal income, your W-2 form was founded in 1909 on wealth distribution. In 1909. That's why your taxes, and it was going to be 3% on anybody that made over $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then you want to know what they said? Man, that doesn't seem like it's good enough. Maybe we should do 6% on 1,000. These people are maniacs. All they want is your hard-earned money with doing as little as they can in office. They should go back to a part-time job, meet every couple times a year, get back to the Constitution. Give me a break.
Yeah. The progressive era brought reform to government and businesses and did increase political power for many citizens, but they were limited to white Americans. African Americans and other ethnic groups continue to experience discrimination and marginalization during that time.
Including Italians and the Irish.
We see the same things happening today, but we see it, but other people don't. Members of Congress becoming very wealthy.
Yeah.
Businesses enjoying huge profits, while most Americans struggle, paycheck to paycheck.
Through that iron triangle we talked to you about last time with the bureaucracies, which I have a thing in here about the first bureaucracy that was passed, went to the Supreme Court on 3 or 4 different cases just to see if they were going to be able to do it. They did, and that was the birth of bureaucracies making the laws, enforcing the laws, mandating the fines, and the person that it was against, or the company, or whoever it was never going to win in the Supreme Court.
You know, when we talk about progressivism, we also have to talk about idealism and the traditional philosophy of education. Progressives believe that teachers play a central role and must be a role model for students to follow to adopt his or her model to become good citizens. This is crazy. This is teacher-centered approach, and therefore students do not participate in a well manner and do not understand the taught concept. The content, I mean. Go back and listen to that. The federal government today wants to indoctrinate our children, our grandchildren, with the nonsense that America is a racist society and parents don't have the right to say what is taught in schools.
Pick your head up. There you go. Put it on the back of your head. No, not like that. There you go. I don't want you to get in trouble by Mark.
Mark, don't yell at me.
Yeah. There you go. I'm sorry. I should have picked that up earlier.
That's bull, folks. It is our responsibility as parents, grandparents, to raise our children to be good citizens, not the federal government. We have the right, as parents, to know what our children are being taught, and also have the right to set the curriculum. The federal government needs to stay out of the schools.
Yeah, there should be no federal Department of
The
Education.
Department of Education is not even part of the Constitution.
No.
States and parents need to take back their rights, and we need to do it quickly. The future of our children are depending on us. President Wilson, during his first term as president, persuaded the Democratic Congress to pass major progressive reforms.
Oh yeah.
Major.
Yep.
The Federal Reserve Act,
Yeah.
Federal Trade Commission Act, the Clayton Antitrust Act, the Federal Farm Loan Act, and the income tax, which you talked about. We're not going to talk about them. Do your homework and look them up.
You know what? Why that was able to be done? I'll tell you right now why it was done. Because they had the. Hold on, let me find it. Because they put in the commission. What was the name of the commission? You remember? Hold on, I got it in here.
I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah. It had to do with the railroad. What happened was they put a commission in, and it went through court that this commission was allowed to set the price that railroads would charge interstate,
Right.
until there was a problem with intrastate, which is inside the state. They took it all over, and they were found to be in the right through the Supreme Court. Supreme Court sided with them on every time with the Commerce Commission. The Commerce Commission was the first bureaucracy. There we go. Easy for you to say.
You got it 3 times. The third time was charm.
Done to John. And it was a test that was done by these progressions to see if this is going to stand up. So basically, your legislators gave power to this commission to regulate the prices of the railroads for interstate. And they went to court, obviously, and got sued and won. Supreme Court said, listen, actually, they didn't go to court. The Supreme Court said, we are not taking this up for legal actions taken by the commission. It was given, they were right from legislature to make that law. So it didn't even go to the Supreme Court. And then it went on and on and on until 3 times it finally went to court, and they said, yes, this commission is allowed to say how much you're allowed to charge interstate. Then there was a case, the same problem, intrastate, from Dallas and Houston going to Eastern Texas, was charging more money than a company going from Arkansas to Eastern Texas. So the one from Eastern Texas said, hey, they're charging too much money. Supreme Court said the commission is allowed to now put the price for railroad costs and fees inside the state too. It was all a police state. It was all to make a police power through the courts, and it found out that these courts were running their decisions through popular opinion because of the muckrakers in the newspapers back then and the political setting. And when Roosevelt became president, he knew he wanted to change these platforms and start making bureaucracies. So he said there was 2 ways for federal authority that might be able to expand the cover of these problems. First was the Constitution might be amended. But then they realized no amendment's been able to be done in the last 100 years since the Reconstruction time of the Civil War. So there remained the second method that they decided. The second method remained was constitutional change by constitutional reinterpretation instead of formal amendments. This can conceivably be accomplished by the bold assertion of national authority by Congress and the President on the assumption that the necessary legislation would receive the sanctions of the Supreme Court. It was this technique which met with the approval of President Roosevelt and other nationalist liberals. This would mean that the powers of the national government we not be regarded as absolute fixed, but the subject of a constant reinterpretation and reconstruction to keep abreast with the growth of American economy. That's what they thought about the Declaration of the United States Constitution. Right inside the Declaration, it says that government should not be changed over. Prudence indeed will dictate that the government long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Roosevelt said this, told the Supreme Court it was going to happen, got muckrakers and newspaper places to do it, and the Supreme Court, which is why our new party believes they should be term limits of 18 years, went on these and ruled through public judgment. Not constitutional, but what the public was thinking.
So you talked about muckraker, and most people have no clue what a muckraker is. It's a reform-oriented investigative journalist during the Progressive era. The muckrakers' work called attention to the problems of the time, including poor industrial working conditions, poor urban living conditions, and unscrupulous business practices. Prominent muckrakers included novelist Upton Sinclair, photographer Jacob Riis, and journalists Ida Tarbell and Lincoln Steffens. These issues, how many times? 2 minutes? We're going to go over a little bit today, folks. You'll have to deal with it. Just like they're doing today. They think we have problems in society, but we don't. The society is, and we'll get into that in a second. You know, it's ridiculous that hardworking Americans have to pay more and more taxes to fund all these social programs. And we need people in Congress that will limit the power of government and get rid of programs that don't work, like housing and urban development and the Department of Education. We also have to make laws that require no person over the age of 65 should pay taxes. They've done it every time.
Nobody should be paying taxes. It's not in the Constitution until they made that amendment, which they did through the legislation and not the people. You know, again, you know, these progressives always want people to be involved, but they never let the people be involved.
People over 65 should be joining retirement years. That's it. You know, I have to get into the progressives of today and what they want.
Can I say one thing? Because it'll go right into your progressives. The rise of federal police power. That's what they called it when these progressives were going through the courts to try and get it. So the first important victory for the proponents of liberal nationalism was the recognition of the federal police power. They did this, you know. Theoretically, the national government has no general police powers, which now they have the KGB, the FBI. The right to legislate for the health, morals, or welfare of the community, us, where we live, that's the state, being reserved to the state. Nonetheless, Congress, after 1900, proceeded to attack a variety of social and economic problems using its powers to regulate commerce and to tax as instruments of social reforms. Although the intent of such legislation was patently the protection of the health, morals, and public welfare of community. In other words, they know better, not the states. The Supreme Court between 1903 and 1915 accepted as constitutional a whole series of statutes of this kind and thus affected recognized a group of sphere of federal police powers. The courts first recognized the use of commerce power for police purpose in Champion versus Amis. The case arose out of a relatively insignificant act of Congress passed in 1895 in an attempt to deal with the lottery problem, which they thought gambling was very, very bad. The law forbade the shipment of lottery tickets in interstate commerce. The real purpose of the law was not the regulation of commerce, but the control of gambling, a matter that had previously lain entirely within the sphere of state police power. So why did they not like the lotto going across state lines and gambling altogether? Why? Because it wasn't taxed. So fast forward 100 years plus till today. They don't like Powerball, the legal lotto tickets going across state lines. Yet now today they have Powerball, which has a shit ton of states involved in it. And they're able to do this because they collect a tax on it.
Yep.
So anything you do in life is immoral, unhealthy, and bad for the community until they can collect the tax on it. Like smoking cigarettes. That was the worst thing. They would rather you smoke crack than smoke a cigarette. But now that it's taxed, 40%, it's okay. Go ahead, go smoke. You can smoke.
Yeah.
So here's their first police power of the federal government was through lottery tickets, and now they make a ton of money on it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go over, but that's it.
So the progressives of today, you have to first research the Biden-Sanders manifesto.
Yeah,
110 pages long.
we did it.
And they tell you how drastically how they want to change America with the universal health care, criminal justice reform, and it goes on and on. There's six areas of the economy they want to forever change.
We did a podcast on that. It's on Spreaker.
Yep.
Before the video.
More rights for criminals than for victims. They don't want criminals to go to jail. They want us to allow these morons who commit crimes against humanity a free pass. The ones that commit crimes against humanity. There's no more free pass, folks. They have got to be out of their minds, people. Hold people accountable for their actions, especially this president, the vice president, and members of Congress. This is why this country is so screwed up. No one is held accountable anymore for their actions. These clowns violate the Constitution daily. So when people see that, they also feel they shouldn't be held accountable. It all starts with our politicians.
Well, I mean, this administration disregarded a ruling from the Supreme Court of maintaining these illegal immigrants staying in Mexico. He's got private industry giving them private jet planes and everything else coming into this country.
So I found this article published by A.M. Greatness, and it's an op-ed. What do progressives want? And it depends on which ones you're talking about. We hear about progressives want more labor unions for workers. That's far from the truth. They aren't keen on them at all. They pay lip service to working people, but the left wing of the Democratic Party is fixed on illegal immigration, LGBLT, I can't even say that 10 times fast.
Yeah.
Climate change, concerns of professional and managerial rather than working class people. They're all talk.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about us. Today, progressives say anyone skeptical about turning the mailbox into a ballot box wants to suppress the vote.
We went through that too.
Yep.
I mean, you need an ID to do anything in life, but except for
vote. We even have progressive Republicans today.
Just look at if we have Republicans today.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just look at the recently passed Democratic infrastructure bill, $1.2 trillion. It wasn't going to pass. There were 6 admitted progressives in Congress that voted against it because it didn't go far enough. But they have 13 Republicans that bailed this president out, and they voted yes.
Well, 12 now. Sheeney's not part of the Republican Party anymore.
He changed over?
Yeah, why? Well, no, Wyoming GOP said, no, you're not part of our party anymore.
Good. Another article I found by Sarah, I said Al-Bashishi, I don't know, called House GOP members who voted for the infrastructure bill face backlash from Republican colleagues, and they should.
Yeah, they should. And their voters.
13 of them voted with Democrats in the progressive movement. One quote that I like was Representative Miller from Ohio, who tweeted, what did he tweet? Only 3 days after voters rejected Biden's failed policies in deep blue Virginia and New Jersey, 13 spineless Republicans decided to tag team with Democrats and help pass their $5 trillion socialist takeover of our country. That is freaking ridiculous, folks. Vote them out. Democrats are not the only progressives. just told you about 13 of them. I'm sure there's many more progressives in there that are Republicans. This is why we need a new party with a new direction for this country and its citizens. Reach out to us. Help us win back this government from these tyrannical losers called politicians. So, we're over our time.
Dang.
So, it's just about closing time, so how about last call?
All right, let's go. Popular impulse towards national reform first manifested in 1880s. Populist and Democrat parties, moreover, many middle-class people had been driven in alarm away from the idea of social reform because of the successive outbreaks of class violence after 1890. Sound familiar?
Yep.
I mean, it's not 2,000 years old like my brother's current events.
Is your brother 2,000 years old?
Oh, he's getting there close. He moves like he's 2,000 years old. So, 1890, people were afraid of the violence that was going on with this progressive movement. This progressive movement starts with violence and then goes to reinterpreting the Constitution, goes to pressuring the Supreme Court that public opinion wants you to go this way. We have the proof to it. Goes to making bureaucracy so they don't have to make rule. Listen, they don't want to make laws and they don't want to enforce the laws because they know if it's unpopular, they're not going to get revoted. So what do? They invent a bureaucracy. The first one was the commission. Transportation Commission stated what these railroads were allowed to charge. They went to the Supreme Court on many cases to make sure that they were going to get passed through their intimidations of the Supreme Court, and it worked. So you have bureaucracy after bureaucracy passing all of the bad legislation that these politicians don't want to pass. That way, when it starts hurting their constituents back at home, they can say, I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, but you belong to the committee that passed it in the iron triangle of committees, what are they called? Special interest, and the companies themselves. Triangle, right there. You were part of it. Goes back to the bureaucracy, pass that law, put any kind of fines you want on it. You can't fight it. You haven't been able to fight it since 1909 because the legislators of this country gave up their powers of making laws and enforcing laws to bureaucracies so that they wouldn't get voted out.
Right. So my last call is this. We have a major political problem here in America. These politicians will not listen to the will of the people. There are currently 100 Democratic progressives in Congress, as well as those 13 Republicans.
113.
113.
Lucky number.
The time is now. The Constitution says we can overthrow this government if it's tyrannical. We believe we have reached that point in our history. We need to send a wake-up call to this two-party system. We need candidates that love this country and love this Constitution. And we'll win back our America at the ballot box.
Do us a favor. If you listen to us, look into your state and see what we have to do to get on the ballots. Help us out. We can help do the work. We're going to do it in South Carolina. We got to get 10,000 signatures. We're getting the paperwork downloaded and emailed to us tomorrow.
Yep.
Not today.
Tomorrow, yep. You know, we can't keep spending money and getting nothing in return. And that's all we've been getting, nothing in return. These politicians have no problem spending your money, our money, Mike's money.
Not their money.
Not their money, it's our money. As long as they get paid, they don't give a shit. They could care less if you live paycheck to paycheck.
They wish you would.
Because it's all about the narrative of total control. Have you had enough of these clowns yet? We sure as hell have. Thanks for listening. Again, share this with your friends. Subscribe. and get in contact with us, uscg20211@AOL.com. We need your help. We need your help with this movement. And together, by standing united, we will win. Thanks for listening. Knowledge is power. See you next week at the tavern.
Good job.